We didn't want to be forced into doing something. And this is, in one sense, is what it was. We were intimidated. We were threatened.
Yeah. At this particular location is where the old jail once stood. You had the jail here, you had the fire department underneath, the jail on top, and you had Courthouse Alley coming through. And in Courthouse Alley, that's where you had Sarah Hitchcock and D.C. Carl Campbell and all those good old boys that ran the city during that time. Yeah, Craig Jones and all that crowd. And of course, at this time, our late Superior Court Judge, Judge Asa Kelly, was the mayor of the city. And he moved on then and became the Superior Court Judge. And of course, Chief Bridget later left here and moved to the Carolinas, but he was very supportive in giving information about the movement. So at this time,
Marvin Griffin long ago took his stand. As long as I am your governor, there will be no breakdown in the pattern of segregation in this state.
A promise made, a promise kept. Throughout his term of office, Governor Marvin Griffin provides the strong leadership necessary to preserve the customs and traditions for which our forefathers fought. The governor's stand on this issue is always crystal clear.
We are standing firm as the Rock of Ages in our defense against attacks on our system of segregation in Georgia. We have established a legal line of embattlement to protect our people from onslaughts by outsiders. We will not tolerate violence in our state, nor will we yield to the illegal and unjust attempt made to mix the races in the schools and in the colleges of Georgia.
It was when students were expelled from Albany State, and I had a sister and brother who were enrolled there at the time, and so it became a hot topic of discussion in our home. And so after the students were expelled and the movement was established and we started attending the meetings, I had a real indication, a light bulb moment, when I realized that Jim Crow laws could be changed. I knew that we had to go to the back of the bus. When we rode the bus, we had to drink from water fountains designated for color, use colored restrooms, go to the balcony of the Albany Theater if we wanted to see a movie, traveling through an alley up the stairs, and all things that made us second-class citizens. And I thought as a young teenager that that was the way life had to be for us until the movement. I mean, I was so inspired to know that we could change things, that we could come together, that we had power. And so being empowered will make you do things that you never thought you could do. I even decided to defy my parents and participate in a march because I was just that determined to be a part of change. And so July 21st, 1962, I marched, and we were stopped right here by the bus station. The police force lined across Oglethorpe to keep us from crossing Oglethorpe going into the main downtown area. And so I was arrested. We were marched to City Hall and booked, so to speak. We were put on buses and sent to, at the time, we didn't know where, but it ended up in Camilla. And I ended up in jail with 66 other teenage girls. And we were in a facility that was made for probably about 20. And so we were crammed in there. The first 2 nights we slept on iron bed frames. The city of Albany sent down the city garbage truck with dirty mattresses a couple of days after we had been in there, and we were so happy to get them because if you ever slept on iron, metal you'll know how difficult that was. But we were so happy to get something soft to sit on and to sleep on. And Dr. King came to the jail along with the other officials of the Albany movement to visit us on that Tuesday. We went in on a Saturday evening. So that Tuesday, Dr. King came down and they brought us supplies and they prayed for us. They also let our parents come. When we were told that it was visitation day, I was thinking that we would be taken into a room to meet with our visitors. To the contrary, they had to yell to us from the fence surrounding the jail. We had to climb up on the table so we could see out and yell to them. But I got the shock of my life because my mother came and she said that we just found out where you were on yesterday and that we're making plans to try to pay you bail if they'll process the paper, so you should be able to get out tomorrow.
And during the summer of 1961, I came back home. And when I came back home, didn't know that the Albany movement was, a voter registration drive was going on. And I just happened to be walking down the street one day, and a young man named Charles Sherrod and Cordell Reagan approached me about, do you want to be free? I said, what do you mean, do I want to be free? I am free.
And we're making plans to try to pay you bail if they'll process the paper, so you should be able to get out tomorrow. And I was saying, oh, no, I don't want to get out, Mom. Please, don't get me out. I want to stay. We're a team in here, and we have to stay together. I was so committed, and the girls in there had become my family. We had a mission, and so it was my feeling that you can endure a little discomfort and you can make a sacrifice when you see victory ahead. Amen. And that was what compelled me. So I stayed in a week, went in on a Saturday evening and got out that following Saturday afternoon. And that story stayed with me so because there were so many things that happened to us in there that I just couldn't let it go. I had to write a book about it.
If you have a gold mine, then there's a point in the gold mine where you have the richest part. And that's called the mother lode. That's what Albany is to black people, in terms of just the concentrated essence of the spirit of the people. And if you can imagine black people at our most powerful point in terms of community and peoplehood, then that's Albany, Georgia.
Martyr, I was working at Mathis restaurant at the time, and it was at the trade where the government building is at now. And we walked through Coat Alley from the Mathis restaurant to the jail, see Martin Luther King, Albany, and Old Quarter. At the time, I didn't know what was going on. So we did morning and evening.
Carpools and taxi cabs can sufficiently supply your transportation needs. I know that probably they can now while you're struggling for something which you hope to achieve. But what about 6 months or a year from now? Do you feel that they'll be able to provide it then?
By that time, I think adequate means of transportation will have been provided by some regulated transportation system, taxi cab or otherwise.
But you're still planning for the long run to be transportation methods to be carpools and taxi cabs for the Negroes of Albany. Is that correct?
As long as necessary.
As long as necessary. Don't you feel that this is quite an expensive type of transportation?
It is, but expense is that's not the issue. The issue is one of having freedom in all of its phases. And there's no price too great to pay for that.
The retaliation came because we were black. The retaliation came because the white folk didn't want us to get what we wanted to get. For instance, we wanted to sit down at the restaurant and eat. That's all we wanted to do.
The buses out of our city and these buses were used largely by Negroes. It canceled our traditional Christmas parade last December, thereby depriving many more Negro than white children of the material joys of the holiday. I think all of us can remember how many little Negro boys and girls chased the Santa Claus float along the sidewalks of Albany, free laughingly to scramble with all other kids for candies tossed to all children of any and all races by the symbol of St. Nick. They couldn't do this last Christmas. Economic boycott, jostling of policemen, burning of newspapers, misuse of children, disrespect of law, loss of Negro income. These are the soil gifts of the Albany movement to the colored citizenry of Albany. And this is supposed to be the new freedom? This is imported insult. This is hoodlumism for negotiation, but it practices civic blackmail. Our city of Albany will have none of this. Our city officials will stand by principle in their actions and uphold the rights of every individual. And those who are now storming at Albany's gates for purposes of political fundraising and national publicity had best remember that they are challenging a white and colored people who have respect and friendship for one another and who understand the true significance of being able to live together in harmony and decency. When emotional demonstrators disturb a community's peace, they are, in effect, outlaws. They must be dealt with as such. Basically, this is Albany City Commission's policy in the current provocations. It is a policy widely supported by the majority, not with any feeling of animosity or cruel spirit of reprisal, but with a sure knowledge that due process of the law is the only cement which can hold together a community's social and economic fabric.
And I'll just say this and we'll move. You know, on the day that I marched, my mama thought I was going to go to jail. So she took one of her hoses and she cut the leg off from the hip. And she took back then, for those of my generation, she took soda crackers and she put peanut butter on them. And she packed them in the stocking. And she said, "Come here, Junior." And she tied it around my waist and put my clothes up on me. Because we had heard they wasn't getting enough food in the jail. And she said, "If you go to jail, at least you have some soda crackers and peanut butter." And that's what she did to me.
Against the solid resistance of city officials, the Albany movement found strength in mass meetings and song.
Most of the mass meeting was singing in Albany. There was more singing than there was talking. And so most of the work that was done in terms of taking care of movement business had to do with nurturing the people who had come. And there would be 2 or 3 people who would talk, but basically songs was the bed of everything.
They didn't take me to jail that day. Nor did they take any of the kids here that day, but they gave me a quarter, and Chief Pritchett said, "Take him home." So because the movement people were following what was happening, they took me home over in East Albany, and then they picked me up, the members from the church picked me up, brought me back, and that day it was at Mount Zion, the meeting, and I got up and I told what they did, and I said, "Yeah," and I was in the back seat, the pony left the window down, he spit and spit came back in my face. So, you know, we were there, and I remember it as if it was yesterday. And when we get there, we'll have another youth who was a youth at that time that went to jail, and that's Heath, Peaches, if you will. And we'll hear from them. So now we're going to give it back to Ruthie, and we're going to move on to the site of the old jail. We'll have a couple of speeches and then a prayer, and then we will adjourn. Thank you.
A promise made, a promise kept. Marvin Griffin does maintain segregation in Georgia. Not until his tenure of office is up and a new governor is in power do the integrationists begin to make headway in the state of Georgia. Marvin Griffin, the governor who means what he says when he promises to preserve hallowed tradition.